We can probably stop recording now since.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Providing permanent protections for our undocumented communities through a simple update of the registry date already in immigration law. By updating it from 1972 to 2010 or later, over 8 million individuals would qualify for green cards immediately. A registry date update is what CHIRLA has been advocating for since the Democrats were elected into the majority. And this year, Democrats have the opportunity to deliver green cards in the Build Back Better package for millions of immigrants and their families. We have a unique opportunity to build a truly fair, inclusive, and equitable immigration system for all. Exactly 1 year ago was Election Day. And on that day, millions of us voted to rid ourselves of a Republican government that attacked us, separated our families, and disregarded our humanity. We voted with the intention to usher in a different government led by Democrats who would fight for us and finally deliver the promise of citizenship. 1 year later, hundreds of thousands have been detained, deported, or not allowed to apply for asylum. Even as we speak, we are still awaiting to see if permanent residency will be officially in the Build Back Better bill. We deserve better. Immigrants keep giving their commitment and work to this country, especially in the middle of a pandemic. They have died for this country. Now it's the Democrats' turn to keep their commitment to the immigrant community in the form of a vote in favor of permanent residency through registry. People don't live temporary lives. Their roots are permanently here in this country. Their families are here. They need permanent residency. Immigrants on the ground have always said that they want a path to citizenship that begins with permanent residency. They have never wavered in their request, and neither should Democrats. If yes to citizenship is the North Star, as the Democrats have told us time and time again, then they must deliver on their promises. Lawmakers must not hide. They must no longer hide behind a technocrat advisor. The parliamentarian's opinion is just that, an opinion. And Democrats have the opportunity to secure permanent solutions today, not someday. They will say that the parliamentarian policies are in the way of our liberation. And so we say to them, buck these policies. In order for us to have a fighting chance, we need to really challenge these ideas that keep us trapped in these shadow statuses. Immigrants are ready to say yes, and we want you to say yes with us. We've been ready. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend in this fight, Patrice Lawrence, Executive Director of UndocuBlack Network, who will be moderating today's press conference. Patrice leads the work of those who are Black, currently or formerly undocumented, and are steadily leading the charge on what they need to make their demands clear on a local and national level. Adelante, Patrice Lawrence.
Thank you, Angelica, and welcome to everyone for joining us. Soon, the House of Representatives will vote on President Biden's Build Back Better Act. House Democrats will describe passage of the bill as a win. But we are absolutely clear that unless Build Back Better Act includes green cards for undocumented people and a pathway to citizenship, it will be described as a failure for immigration. Delivering anything short of green cards falls short of campaign promises, fails millions of people, and offends all of us who favor humane immigration policies. We must be clear on what we are asking of this administration, as it is not pie in the sky, but the bare minimum of how Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should deliver for their base. Angelica mentioned that 1 year ago was Election Day, and many of us remember that day of anxiety and what it brought us. Today, a year later, we are declaring that a failure to display boldness in this area is a failure overall. Further, those who favor justice cannot be pacified into thinking that this issue impacts just a few people. Let us also not pretend that this issue only impacts some people. Most people in the United States know and love someone who is undocumented, and we as undocumented people, as well as our families, are demanding the freedom that we seek, and that comes in the form of green cards. It is now my pleasure to introduce ABIC co-chair, Bob Worsley. Bob Worsley is a co-founder of SkyMall and former Republican state senator of Arizona, who defeated the Republican Senate President Russell Pierce, who sponsored SB 1070, the Show Me Your Papers bill. Senator Worsley had shown that you can be pro-immigrant and still win. ABIC has been an important partner in our fight to secure green cards. We welcome him here today. Bob.
Thank you very much, Patrice. And it's an honor to be here with you. I'm the co-chair of American Business Immigration Coalition, a bipartisan group of 1,200 CEOs and employers from Arizona to Maine, Texas to Florida. I want to thank Angelica at CHIRLA for inviting ABIC to participate at this press conference and for your important partnership. ABIC strongly preferred a bipartisan immigration reform deal. Since February, we met with 41 Republicans face-to-face and held 67 bipartisan town hall meetings. Unfortunately, Republicans did not negotiate in good faith and walked away. That makes me very sad since I'm a Republican. The budget reconciliation is moving forward. Immigration reform has clear, positive budgetary impacts. ABIC supports the Registry immigration proposal in President Biden's Build Back Better. We urge Congress to quickly pass the Registry by any means necessary, including disregarding the Senate parliamentarian. The parliamentarian is a hired advisor to the Democrats, not the final word. As a CEO, I hire people to give me advice. I take good advice. I reject bad advice. The parliamentarian has given bad advice. The president and Congress have the power and the responsibility to disregard bad advice and finally legalize immigrants and essential workers we've been depending on during this pandemic. President Biden's Registry proposal provides pathways to citizenship for dreamers, TPS holders, farm workers, and essential workers. With 10.1 million unfilled jobs, this action is not only morally right, it is urgently needed to address the acute labor shortage across the country. Passing the immigration registry will grow our GDP, our gross domestic product, accelerate job growth, and raise the wage floor for all Americans. It will increase economic activity by over 120 billion annually, including over 30 billion per year in federal, state, and local tax revenues. It is critical to offset an aging, shrinking workforce to sustain our global competitiveness. Legalization is also bipartisan and popular. A recent poll commissioned by ABIC showed 3-to-1 support for a path to citizenship nationally, including majorities of Trump 2020 voters in support of paths to citizenship for dreamers, farm workers, and other immigrants making crucial contributions to our economy. Democrats must be courageous, and Republicans must stop paralyzing by a minority of their party. Economic benefits of citizenship is undeniable. Reconciliation vehicle is on the table, and the time to get it done is now. This is the year to pass immigration reform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, and thank you for your remarks and for joining us here today and for ABIC's support. Next, I will go to Marielena Hincapie. Marielena is the Executive Director of the National Immigration Law Center, NILC. She is my friend, as well as the nation's leading organization. NILC is dedicated to defending and advancing the rights of low-income immigrants in the United States. The NILC Immigrant Justice Fund, IJF, is also in charge of, she is the director of NILC as well as IJF. Under her leadership, NILC and the IJF has strategically combined legislation, litigation, policy, communications, narrative change, and movement building to effect transformational change. As an immigrant from Colombia, Ms. Hincapie brings her lived experience and bilingual as well as bicultural perspective to her work. Marielena is nationally respected as a leader, a legal and political strategist in the immigrant justice movement, and a leading voice in the national conversation on immigration. Marielena.
Thank you, Patrice, and thank you all for joining. Ooh, I'm hearing some feedback. You guys hear me okay? Yep. Okay, wonderful. Such an honor to be here with Angelica, with you, Patrice, and of course with Bob. ABIC has been such a critical partner, and the members of CHIRLA and UndocuBlack who are joining us on today's presser. And then a particular note of gratitude to our champions in the House, Representative Chuy Garcia and Representative Correa. As an immigrant from Colombia who arrived in the 1970s when my father was given the opportunity, he came as a guest worker to work in the factories in Rhode Island, but was given the opportunity to get a green card and then petition for us. My life and the life of my 9 brothers and sisters and I has been absolutely different than today's immigrant communities have. We had the opportunity to thrive by having that permanent residency that gave us the economic and educational opportunities that allowed us to contribute not just to our families and our community, but to helping to make the United States a better country. Among my siblings, I count CEOs of corporations, they're in the business sector, small business owners, health professionals, educators, and I'm a lawyer who gets to defend the Constitution of the United States, fighting for the America that we need to become. We have a once in a generation opportunity in this moment. An overwhelming number of voters elected Democrats and gave them a governing trifecta. Democrats control the White House, the Senate, and the House. And this reconciliation process has the chance to include that transformational impact on the lives, not just of immigrants, but as Bob said, of employers, of businesses, of our schools, of our communities, of our country as a whole. The fact that it is transformational, the fact that it will have an economic impact on our nation are the reasons why, unfortunately, the Senate parliamentarian got it wrong. And we urge Democrats to use all of the tools at their disposal, including disregarding the advice, which was wrong advice. As Bob said, we often hire consultants, we hire people with expertise, and they sometimes get it wrong. And this is one of those instances in which we absolutely cannot simply allow someone who was not elected to the Senate to dictate the future of our country, the future of millions of people and the many more millions who will be impacted by this policy change. We urge Democrats to ensure that there is a path to citizenship. It is a winning policy. In the midterms next year, voters will judge Democrats and policymakers not on their intentions, but on the results. Were they able to come through on the promise that President Biden made during the campaign when he was campaigning to be president, to deliver a path to citizenship for as many of the 11 million people who are part of our families, our communities, and our country? Look, we are not yet out of the pandemic. I have a staff member who is a DACA recipient who has just lost her 29-year-old brother to COVID. Her father has been in ICU. Her mother and younger brother were just released from the hospital recently. The pandemic continues to impact all of us in many ways and will be with us. But if any of us, including members of Congress in the Senate and the House, got up today and ate, if you had fruit, if you had vegetables, if you had chicken, if you had meat today, you have been relying on immigrants. If you had healthcare at any point throughout this pandemic, you have been relying on immigrants. If your children are being educated by diverse teachers, they are being educated and probably also being taken care by nannies or domestic workers or early childhood education providers. And so we know that at this moment in our nation, with the pandemic and this economic crisis that we have been in, Americans have become even more aware of the essential role that immigrants are playing. But the fact is that immigrants are essential, not simply because of the work that we do, but because of our humanity and our dignity. We have millions of immigrants who call this country home, who are citizens in waiting, and the time is now. We urge Democrats to not delay any further, The stakes are too high. Our country needs to have a path to citizenship. It has been 35 years. We're operating on an immigration system from the 1980s, and the world has changed radically before us. We are a global society that needs and to ensure that our immigration system is an immigration system for the 21st immigration system that centers the strength and the dignity of humanity of immigrants. And the only way to do so is by Senate and House Democrats acting today, this week, on ensuring that immigrants have a path to citizenship. The National Immigration Law Center stands ready to continue working with our champions in the House and in the Senate and with the White House, but we urge there is no time for delays. This is the time is now. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Marielena. Marielena Hincapie of the National Immigration Law Center. Thank you. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Representative Jesús Chuy Garcia, who represents the 4th Congressional District of Illinois. Congressman Garcia has been a progressive voice fighting to improve the lives of his working class neighbors and a champion of immigrant rights in Congress. He was the first to say that he would not support the Build Back Better bill if immigration reform is not included. And for that, we here at UndocuBlack thank you. Welcome, Representative Chuy Garcia.
Thank you very much on the kind introduction, Patrice, and good afternoon. And thanks to everyone joining the call. A special thanks to my friends at CHIRLA, ABIC, UndocuBlack, and NILC for organizing this event as we head into the final stretch of reconciliation negotiations. You know, we knew that this process would not be easy, but this isn't the moment to give up, and I'm not backing down. There's simply too much on the line to walk away with nothing. We've got to keep fighting like we never have for our families, friends, and neighbors, and we can't stop until we get something done for immigrants this year and now. I don't want to go back home and have to explain to my constituents that despite having a united government, we can't deliver. They deserve better. Our communities deserve permanent solutions now. They need to know they've got members fighting for real immigration reform. And listen, we all know how we got here. The racist, archaic filibuster means we need budget reconciliation to pass what our communities needs. It puts an unelected person in charge of what we get, and our constituents deserve better, which is why I was the first member to say I can't vote for a package that doesn't deliver meaningful immigration reform for the communities I represent. This is not a decision that I take lightly. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to invest in our communities and pass immigration reform. And one way or another, we simply have to do both. If we're serious about building back better, we can't leave our communities behind. This moment requires bold and courageous action. The Democratic Party can't take our immigrant communities for granted any longer. After 35 years without meaningful immigration reform, we cannot walk away empty-handed. We continue to engage and to press for the most meaningful reform. Negotiations are continuing here. Registry is still in play. We are pressing hard for that and trying to figure out a way forward, and of course, a way to convince our friends in the Senate to do the right thing by all the communities that have been clamoring for meaningful immigration reform for 35 years. Thank you so much. Proud to join you.
Thank you so much, Representative Chuy Garcia, for all that you have done for our immigrant families. We're so proud that you represent us in Congress. It is now my pleasure to introduce another friend and another champion and member of Congress, Correa, who has been a champion for immigrant communities in our state of California and nationwide. Representative Correa represents California's 46th district and is a longtime Orange County resident with deep local roots. He's the son of working class parents and has spent his career fighting to protect the American dream. And today he is fighting to ensure that the House keeps permanent residency in the House bill. Welcome, Representative Correa.
Muchas gracias, Angelica, and muchas gracias por tu trabajo. And I want to thank all of the workers here on this call for their good work. This is our moment. You know, I think back a few months ago when my daughter came home one day in tears. My kids all went to Santa Ana public schools. They grew up with our community. And that was something I chose to do, which was I wanted to make sure that my kids were part of the community we were members of. She came home crying and saying, Dad, my dreamer friends are very scared again. They've been scared during the Trump years. They continue to be scared. They're petrified. Another court decision that says they've got to leave. You've got to do something, Dad. You've got to do something to help them, please. And being the father of four and my baby girl being my baby girl who's got me wrapped around her little finger, I said, Mija, we're going to get busy. And, you know, I took it to heart that, again, we had another situation, a new president. We controlled the House, the Senate, the presidency, and we still had the same issues. And so I talked to my staff and I reached out to my buen amigo, Chuy Garcia from Chicago. And I said, we got to do something about this. And he said, Lou, I'm one step ahead of you again. He said, I made this pledge. And I said, Chuy, I'm with you, my brother. I'm with you, taking this pledge to make sure that we need reforma, we need green cards, we need justice. We don't want an amnesty. I said, amnesty connotates that we have essentially done something wrong and that we need to be forgiven. No, people in this country have worked hard before the pandemic, during the pandemic. They have, fed us, taking care of our children, our seniors, have kept our manufacturing base alive in this country. We've done so much. We have earned the right to a citizenship. So what we need to do is buckle down and make sure we deliver for our community. I come from the philosophy of don't make a promise if you can't keep it. And we as Democrats have made that commitment to our community of delivering reforma migratoria, and we cannot go back. Today, like Chuy said, we find ourselves in the middle of debates, these discussions. Three of us right now are holding tight. I wish there were more, but you know what? We'll take what we got, and we want to work to make sure that we deliver justice to our immigrant community. A few months ago, I was in a committee hearing with Zoe Lofgren. I sit on Judiciary Subcommittee of Immigration with Zoe. Zoe chairs that committee. And I asked Zoe a question in public. I said, Zoe, if Albert Einstein was to try to immigrate to the United States today, could he do it? And she said, very difficult for him to come to the United States today. And that just shows the travesty of immigration laws that just aren't working anymore. I'm a patriot. I love this country. How else could the son of a woman who cleaned hotel rooms, how else could the son of a factory worker go from a rough neighborhood in Anaheim to being in the United States Congress? If I was living in Mexico, I'd probably working in the campo or waiting tables in Mexico City. But because my grandparents came to this country, I'm now a member of the United States Congress. This is a great country. And want to keep that American dream alive for those that come after me. All those dreamers, all those immigrants that dare to think big, all those families that come to the Americas with nothing more than with their dreams, their passion for a better life, to work hard, to pay the price of earning the American dream. We have to fulfill that promise to them. And we're working hard right now. And as Chuy said, by hook or crook, we're dealing and wheeling and trying to figure out how to do this. And we're going to keep working hard. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Representative Correa. Thank you for keeping your promise always to us. And I look forward to celebrating with you when we win this thing and we are all able to achieve that path to citizenship, including myself, and be able to get my green card. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You deserve that green card. You earned it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It is my pleasure now to introduce Irma Escobar of CHIRLA. She's an undocumented mother of 2 United States citizen children. She will share her perspective and story. Irma.
Thank you. Buenos días, mi nombre es Irma Escobar.
Buenos días.
Soy miembro de CHIRLA. Buenos días. En este día, exactamente hace un año, estaba muy preocupada porque era el día de elecciones. Y ese día iba a marcar historia, ya que había una carrera presidencial que determinaría el futuro de muchas personas, más bien dicho, de millones de personas. Yo he ayudado varias veces a sacar el voto, pero ese día era más especial que nunca, porque sabíamos que de esos resultados dependía nuestro futuro y nuestra oportunidad de poder ajustar nuestro estatus migratorio. Yo tengo más de 28 años viviendo en este país sin poder ajustar mi estatus. A pesar de tener tanto tiempo aquí, pagar impuestos, portarnos bien y hacer todo lo que supuestamente piden para darnos una oportunidad, mi esposo y yo seguimos sin poder obtener nuestra residencia. Tengo 2 hijos ciudadanos y hemos sido víctimas de este sistema roto de inmigración, ya que hace 8 años mi esposo fue detenido a causa de un mal trámite de inmigración. Hemos vivido en carne propia la separación de familia y seguimos con miedo de que vuelva a sucedernos lo mismo. Por eso, el día de hoy me gustaría hacerle un llamado a nuestros congresistas, a nuestra vicepresidenta y a nuestro presidente. Quiero pedirles que cumplan su promesa y que mantengan un camino hacia la ciudadanía en forma de tarjetas verdes en el acta de Build Back Better. Queremos que en este presupuesto se dé la residencia que tanto hemos esperado e incluya la fecha de registro para que personas como yo, que han estado en este país por la mayor parte de nuestras vidas, podamos por fin ser incluidos como deberíamos. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Irma, for sharing with us. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce UndocuBlack member from South Africa who will also share his story. Vusimuzi Mbatha, Ndabezitha. Please go ahead, Vusimuzi.
Hello. As Patrice said, my name is Vusimuzi Mbatha Ndabezitha. I'm from South Africa. I came in this country around 2005, 2006. I came through a program called Workaway International. Since then, when I came here, I never looked back because of the possibilities that America was able to offer to me to say, this is a world where you can dream big, that's number one. So through that, I never looked back and I went forward. And when I went forward, I came across a lot of challenges as everybody else. As an immigrant moving around, right? To come to a situation where my visa that I came with had to collapse, meaning I overstayed. And through that, find ways to say, okay, so what do I do then? Because I could find now this thing that was able to give me what has been the drive in myself. So through that, I was able to find a way to get around all of that. And I was given an opportunity to work with an American businessman who, through him, I was able to shape what was always in me. So he ignited the fire that always burned in me. And that is, you can do better, asking better for yourself and pushing yourself and all that. So my journey started there up until where I am today, where I own a company called Dungeon LLC. It's a trucking company. And I've employed 9 people as we speak. And through all of that, I've got a son who's 12 years old, who's back in South Africa. Now, through all my struggles, and going through all of what America has brought to me, I find out that there's one thing that was missing in my life, and that is being a father to my son. So through my struggles with trying to better my life, one, two, trying to help my community where I was or where I am, it has taken me to understand that there's now another sacrifice one needed to do, and that sacrifice was to not be a full-time father to my son. So that has landed me to be where I am today in having conversations to people that make decisions to say, on the other hand, my story is twofold, you know. It's this businessman, this entrepreneur young man that is trying to better his community and trying to make sure that he better people's life. On the other hand, he still has his own balance with this immigration issue and everything else. So that has been, you know, the story of my life. But through all of that, you know, persistence and stuff, I was able to find myself and my company having to have a contract after all of this with one of the biggest energy companies in Connecticut, where I am, and that is UI, United Illuminating. So that's where our company is based, and we have, as I've said, we have 9 workers under this company who are Americans, and whom their lives have changed because of what we've, you know, what I have basically, you know, been pushing through all, you know, the obstacles that are found in this country. So this bill that we are talking about today, it's a bill that really, for me and for others out there who have the ambition and who could get into the space in this country that is so big, that is going to help you unlock what has always been in you. So that bill, in it lies so many people. In it lies so many voices out there who want to do best for not only their, you know, their communities, but humanity in large. You know, America is the biggest company that, biggest country that influences the rest of the world. So that's where I am. That's where I'm urging, you know, everybody, especially those who will be making these decisions, to remember that humanity comes first. We are here as immigrants coming from our respectful countries. We didn't come here just because we just want to come here, but we were told and we saw what America can do to a person that wants more, not only for himself, but for other people too. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Vusimuzi. And thank you to all of our presenters today, including Representative Correa, who we still have. And so at this point, I'm going to open it up to the media for questions. Please provide your name and the outlet that you are with. If you have a question, you may put it in the Q&A section, or you may raise your hand, and Sydney will bring you over to speak. I'll allow for a couple of minutes so that we are able to do that.
Okay, and we actually have our first question, Patrice. So from Jesús Garcia, and this question is open to everyone. You are supporting the House's plan regarding undocumented people by changing the registry date, but in the Senate are waiting for the parliamentarians' decision on parole. The question is, are you willing to support any of these plans moving forward?
Is that to me?
It's open to everyone. So if you'd like to go first, please.
Let me take a shot at this. That we've been waiting for immigration reform for 35 years. I started out asking for 11 million, a plan that would give relief pathway to citizenship for 11 million. I then moved to negotiating against myself, accept the Schumer proposal, which was Dreamers, TPS, essential workers, farm workers. And what we're doing right now is trying to get the most comprehensive program that we can get for our community. The process is an interesting one. All of a sudden, the parliamentarian becomes very powerful. an individual who I think most Americans never knew existed, who is not part of our formal government, but an individual who's appointed through a process that has been created by the Senate. I have been a forceful advocate of overruling the parliamentarian, correcting the parliamentarian, and possibly replacing the parliamentarian, who in my opinion does not have the same weight as the Senate or the senators. I am going to be focusing on the best solution that I can get for our community, and I am going to continue to push hard. I can't start saying that I'll settle for this and not for that, because I'm tired of negotiating against myself. I keep getting pushed back with nothing in return. That's not the way you negotiate. And as Chuy said, my constituents are counting on us to get the job done. Thank you.
I'd like to answer it as well. And thank you so much for your answer, Representative Correa, because I so agree with you on this. I just want to say at the end of the day, registry is our best option because it includes dreamers and TPS workers and farm workers. But you know what it also does? It includes those individuals who have been here for so many decades waiting for immigration reform, waiting for their status to be, for their status to now be a permanent status in this country. And so for us, it's really about our members who have worked as domestic workers for over 30 years, our members who have worked as construction workers in the last, for the last 25 years, whose bodies they have left at their work site, who have left everything for this country. So registry, from our perspective, is the option that provides the most benefit for the most people. And it leaves green cards on the table. And this is important for us to state. Parole is a temporary work permit for 5 years that is capped in 10. And it's that is an option. And the parliamentarian might say yes or no to that, but it isn't permanent residency, which is what our people have long deserved. Brevemente en español, lo que quiero decir es de que hay muchas opciones en la mesa en este momento. Yo estoy muy de acuerdo con nuestro representante Correa, que nosotros tenemos que negociar por lo que nuestra gente necesita y lo que ha demandado. Ellos han pedido la residencia permanente. El registro y la actualización del registro ayuda a los que tienen DACA, a los que tienen TPS, a los trabajadores del campo, a los trabajadores esenciales, pero también a los trabajadores de la construcción y tantos otros que han estado aquí por más de 2 décadas esperando una oportunidad permanente. Eso es lo que ellos han demandado y necesitan. Se está hablando de parole y hay que recordar a todo el mundo, parole es un permiso de trabajo de 5 años que se acaba en 10. Y nuestra gente nos ha dicho claramente, lo que ellos luchan es por la residencia permanente, algo permanente porque sus vidas son permanentes en este país.
Y Angelica, if I can say a few words in Spanish, recordar que somos parte de esta patria, ya es nuestra casa, como Irma dice, ella tiene 2 niños que son ciudadanos americanos. Tenemos que reconocer las realidades de la economía americana y la sociedad americana, que ya somos parte de este gran país, que no nos nieguen lo que hemos ganado, lo que hemos contribuido a este gran país. Cada rato me llegan personas de mucho dinero de Newport Beach y dicen, oye Luis, tengo esta trabajadora que me ha cuidado a mis niños por 10 años, ¿qué podemos hacer para traerla? Mis niños dependen de ella, ¿qué podemos hacer para legalizarla? Y cuando les digo nada, se quedan asombrados, ¿verdad? Estas son personas de nuestra comunidad que les damos la confianza con las cosas que Dios nos ha dado, lo más precioso que nos da Dios, que son nuestros hijos. Y de todos modos pensamos que son criminales. Digo, lo que estamos pensando en esta sociedad, en negar una residencia, son cosas que son falsas. Queremos realidades, queremos que nuestra comunidad que está tan asustada, todo el tiempo esperando que les toquen en su puerta, que los deporten, así es como deben de vivir nuestras comunidades. necesitamos paz, necesitamos vivir como seres humanos. Por eso vamos a seguir luchando.
Thank you to all of our panelists who answered. We're going to move on to our next question. Raphael, I see how you have your hand up, so I'm going to bring you over to allow you to talk, okay? And please just remember to introduce us with the outlet that you're with as well.
Hello, thank you for having this this conference. I'm Rafael Bernal with The Hill. I guess this is also for everyone on the call. It's mostly about the Hispanic caucus. Historically, well, it's had its share of divisions, but it's usually been in lockstep on this particular issue. On immigration, it's always been the core issue for the Hispanic caucus. Yet today on this debate, we see division. We see some, we see 3 members who will not vote for anything that doesn't include immigration. And we see some members that are basically saying that they will vote for the Build Back Better plan, whether it includes immigration or not. There's a diversity. Could you sort of talk about what are the forces creating this wedge within the caucus that's, so politically associated to the immigration movement?
I'll mention that I think it's a lack of courage, and then please go to Representative Correa, who could also share more. I know he has to leave soon for votes, as well as if you're willing to share the strategy that we're working with.
Muchas gracias, mi amigo del Hill, por tu pregunta. Y digo, cada uno de nosotros viene a Washington con mandados, con las preocupaciones de nuestras comunidades. Yo ya sé por qué vine a Washington. Yo vine a representar a mi comunidad, a asegurar que cuando yo me vaya de Washington, cuando yo deje este trabajo, esta patria sea más fuerte de lo que es ahorita. Y es lo que estoy haciendo yo, tratando de pelear por una reforma migratoria para las personas que se merecen esa oportunidad de ser americanos. Yo no puedo hablar, no puedo platicar, no puedo criticar a mis colegas porque ellos son elegidos por sus votantes. Yo sé por qué me mandaron a Washington. Y este es un tema de pasión que yo he tenido toda mi vida porque tristemente todavía me duele la parte del alma contarles las historias de mi abuelo. Él vino en 1910, 1905. A trabajar, construir los ferrocarriles de los Estados Unidos, los rieles. Y en el 1930 lo deportaron. Mi papá, mis tías, mis tíos, todos ciudadanos americanos los deportaron cuando hubo una gran depresión. Yo no estuve allí en los 1930 para defenderlos, pero estoy aquí ahorita. Y quiero defender a nuestras comunidades que el mismo pecado de los 1930 se está repitiendo. Gracias. Y perdonen que tengo que salir a votar ahorita, ¿eh? Aquí estoy a sus órdenes cuando quieran platicar. Nomás cómprenme un cafecito y vamos a hablar hasta que se nos acabe la saliva. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Representative Correa. And I want to actually answer also additionally the question from the Hill around the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I think that there is a united intent to win for our families, but I think that what the Congressional Hispanic Caucus has to stop doing is actually acquiescing to the idea that not today, but another day as an answer. And we have to say, no, the day to deliver on immigration is today. Today is the day. Because we have been hearing this, wait your turn, another better moment, another better administration, when we get a trifecta, when we have more members of Congress on both sides, because our margins are so low. Now we have the parliamentarian. And I truly believe that if we are to represent our communities, if our members, our Latino members of Congress are truly to represent the needs of our Latino community, many of them, majority of them, who are either in mixed status families, many of them who have their families who have been deported, they would demand that action for permanent residency happen today. And that is what we're looking for in terms of leadership. But I would go beyond that. I think everybody who has stated to us that they were going to be a different, they were going to be different than Trump, that they were going to stand with our families, that they were so distressed when they saw the family separation, that when they had the power, that they would use it for us. So on the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, I want more courage, and I want them to stop taking someday, some other day as an answer. And I'm sorry, I'm just very upset at what's happening in Congress right now. And we deserve better leadership, and we deserve leadership that's going to fight for us just as much as those people who attacked us, the Republicans who attacked us, with that incredible energy that they used to attack us. We need the same energy now to protect us. Sorry, Patrice, go back to you.
You're good. I think actually let's go to Suzanne's question next. So Suzanne says, this is Suzanne Magnoc with CQ Roll Call. This is for Representative Correa, but I'm not sure if he's still there. And for any other advocates that are close to Hill Talk. So I'll mention the first question, which is, what are you hearing from House Democrats on their immigration strategy? I understand that a narrowed version of a registry is under consideration. Is that correct? Anyone who's here, are they familiar with that strategy of a narrowed registry? And Suzanne, if you're here and you want to offer anything more that's helpful. There's a part 2 to her question, which is, have you seen any opposition from moderates within the Democrat Party to pass a bill with the parliamentarian rejected registry option?
Okay, I will answer this question as well, but Patrice, you should join in as well. And I also want to bring in Bob Worsley into this conversation. We have had so many different versions of what could, what is acceptable in the creation of what is palpable around the politics on immigration. What I just want to say is registry, in moving the date to from registry, you include the dreamers. I want to repeat this. You include the dreamers, you include TPS, you include farm workers, you include all of these populations already. But what you do is you also include a lot of people who have been here for years and years awaiting. Many of them, we have members who have been here since after '86, the last amnesty. And so it's also a recognition of seniority. So we have heard all of these different versions. The other thing that you asked was around moderates. So we've heard about moderate X or moderate Y might be not in support. When we reach out to some of these moderates, they don't see this as an issue. They have other issues that they really care about. And so for me, I just, where I'm at in just listening and responding to some of these concerns around these moderates is that hiding behind the moderates, hiding behind the parliamentarian. And I just really think that this is a moment for courage. And if you stand with immigrants, you fight for immigrants, and you fight for the legislation that will provide the most status for the majority of immigrants who are here undocumented, for the most. So the most status, which is permanent residency for the most people. And I just think it's important, because I always feel that we get shortchanged when in these negotiations, and there needs to be better negotiation on our behalf.
Thank you, Angelica. I'll answer the second part as well about the hesitance. And I will say that I think some of the hesitance is not being clear on what the Senate is able to do and what the Senate is not able to do. Senate rules and procedures are seen to be complicated, but actually quite simple if you're able to look through them. And so the organizations here, as well as several others who are not present, believe that it is possible to include a pathway to citizenship and to pass it out into law. The first step is to, of course, include a pathway to citizenship in the House-passed reconciliation bill. And the path that we're asking for is registry for the reasons that Angelica just outlined. Then to ensure that the immigration language is where it needs to be in that bill as well, with consultation in the Senate. If a point of order is raised to exclude the immigration provision, the presiding officer in the Senate can rule that the immigration provision is allowed. And to sustain that will require less votes as well. And then lastly, defeat every anti-immigrant amendment during a vote of Rama. We sustain, and throughout this call, we've mentioned that it is within the Senate majority, the Democrats, to continue to allow this to work. And it can, if this is truly what Democrats have as a priority. And then I'll move to Sydney for the next set of questions.
Okay, yes, I see Maria, and Maria, I'm going to bring you over so you can talk. Just please remember to say your full name and the outlet that you're with as well. Okay, Maria, you can go ahead. Maria, can you hear us?
If not, let's move on. And I think Bob also can answer one of the next questions coming in on this.
Okay, sounds good. I don't know if there was another question here, but Bob, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just think that the reality is that we need Joe Manchin in the Senate, and that's still not in the bag. And I think that if it's parole or registry, what the Senate thinks they can get done, we need Joe Manchin on the team. Kyrsten Sinema, I think, is pro immigration reform and including something. I've heard a number of places that Joe Manchin is still on the fence. He's not there yet. So he did vote in 2013 for comprehensive immigration reform. So he does have a track record of supporting this. But he's kind of, as everybody knows, he's holding out on a number of things. And I think everything will come down to him. And I've also heard that there might be two other senators who are not playing their hand publicly, who are concerned about including immigration and by disregarding the parliamentarian. Not to be named, I don't know who they are. They're kind of laying in the weeds a bit. So hopefully they will come along, and then Joe Manchin, who we know is currently a bit of a bottleneck on this, that he'll come to the right conclusion and allow it to be included.
Thank you. And I have one more question here. This is from Ellen Gilmer. And I'm just going to open this up to everyone. She also had questions about the registry with the downsized registry chatter, and wanted to know, does anyone here, it was for Representative Correa, but he is no longer here. So I'm going to open it up to everyone on the call. Do you support green card recapture provisions in House draft text?
I would just say absolutely. We support the visa recapture and the visa reforms. This is a long time in coming. It's something we have requested for many years. So that's why our support is of the registry language with the visa recapture, visa reform language that was actually released on Thursday. That for us is real movement. And I know that there's lots of different conversations. I think the only thing I would add is on this chatter around the slimmed down version with like the different populations. If what you're trying to correct for is the parliamentarian has already said no on the populations as well. And so for me, in terms of the logic, what is the logic that is driving the slimming down of a narrowing of the benefit of and the number of people? And so I think it's really important for us to question the logic around and how negotiations are moving forward. I think that for me is incredibly important. But once again, the parliamentarian is a non-elected individual who provides advice for the Senate. And so part of our strategy is also to disregard the parliamentarian's bad advice, as was so eloquently stated by Bob. Y en español, lo único que queremos decir es de que no entendemos la lógica que se está utilizando para mover esta idea de darle la residencia permanente a un grupo más pequeño de personas y también incluir un proceso temporal o un estatus temporal. Si la lógica por lo cual quieren disminuir el número de personas que puedan calificar para alguna residencia permanente es por lo que dijo la parlamentaria, bueno, la parlamentaria dijo que no a las poblaciones, a los soñadores, a los tepecianos, a los que tenían la ciudadanía para trabajadores esenciales o a los campesinos. Para mí, lo que tenemos que hacer es ignorar la decisión, y más bien es el consejo de la parlamentaria, no tratar de disminuir el número de personas que calificarían para la residencia permanente o disminuir el estatus para temporal. No entiendo la lógica que están utilizando nuestros miembros del Congreso en las negociaciones, porque van en contra de muchos de los motivos por los cuales están diciendo que tienen que disminuir la población.
Thank you, Angelica. And we're at the top of the hour, so I'll just ask for final remarks. I'll go first, which is to mention, just to top it off, I think that the Biden-Harris administration has a question to answer about legacy that they will be leaving for immigrants in this time, 1 year after the election. What will their legacy be? The last legalization bill that passed in the House and the Senate was tucked away in something else as well in 2019 and was passed under President Trump. Is that the legacy that they prefer to leave? That the last time that a legalization could be passed was under President Trump? I would hope that that would not be the case. And I would also hope that Senate Majority Leader Schumer uses the tools in his hand together with Madam Speaker in the House to ensure that a pathway to citizenship, the registry language, not only makes it out of the House, but makes it clear out of the Senate. It is within the Senate rules to be able to do so. It is within Senate statute to be able to do so, to disregard the advice of the parliamentarian and to do so at a higher threshold of votes. We encourage the senators to uphold that courage that we have been holding as immigrants, as undocumented people for all these years, and to allow this fair shot that we have at freedom. Those are my final remarks, and I will pass it at this point to Vusimuzi and then Irma.
Thank you so much, Patrice. Thank you so much for everyone. What I can say is to say thank you for listening. Hello? Okay, thank you so much to everybody for listening to stories like ours and to put them out there so that we can all have the freedom to dream and the freedom to live forward, because in our situations, we can dream as much as we can, but if you are limited living your life not knowing what's going to happen to you tomorrow, it's not a pleasant thing to go through this journey called life. And leaving our families, as I said, my son, it's one thing that this whole journey has deprived me of, being a father to my son. So with all of this, I hope, as I said before, for those who have the courage and for those who the powers depend on them, I hope that they chose humanity more than anything else, because in these bills lies the lives of people, as I've said, and those people are immigrants like some of us who just need to go out there and do the best for humanity, where the society, I mean, where they live and where everybody is at. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Irma, and then I see that one more question came up. So let me actually go to this question. How can intersectionality issues be successful and feel equal across the board if racism isn't addressed within the realms of it? The division of the racial divide exists between the LGBTQIA legislative policies as well as immigration has those division as well. So how can intersectionality and the division within this policy be addressed? This is coming from Anthony Malcolm. Anthony, can you share also which outlet you are with? And I don't know if anyone here wants to be able to answer that really quickly. We are at 2:06, so do you want us to wrap up quickly? I'll give a sweeping answer to this, which is we saw something like this come this morning, actually, with some confusion about what should go first and which strategy should be used for what bill. I will share that many of us share many identities. Myself, as a Black undocumented woman, I share many identities, and I cannot choose which one I wake up in the morning. And so I think our very presence here on this call and our very fighting for freedom and to not have second-class citizenship put on us with a program that is not green cards is our very pushing back on the racial divide. What we are fighting for is a more just and equal society, and we know that that means having access to the things that will give us justice. And in a lot of ways, that unfortunately is a paper that we hold. And many of us are saying we do not have that paper. And the Senate and the House has a unique opportunity to make sure that they give that paper to us this year. And we do not want them to squander that opportunity because they lack courage and are not willing to do their jobs. And with that, I'll wrap today's call. Thank you so much for making us, for making the time here. If you have any other questions that you would like to send, please send them to Sydney. Sydney has put her information in the inbox, as well as Jorge. Jorge can also be reached at 562. Can't put that out because we're live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good afternoon. Please continue to lift up this chat, and I look forward to celebrating with you very soon when we pass legalization for millions of individuals. Thank you.